The key turned in the lock with a soft click, echoing through the marble foyer of Thomas Harper's penthouse. The silence felt heavier than usual, suffocating, as if the air itself held secrets. Thomas shrugged off his tailored suit jacket, draping it over the back of a leather armchair. His eyes caught on a silk scarf tangled carelessly on the floor, a deep crimson, not his wife's usual palette. He picked it up, inhaling faint traces of bergamot and sandalwood, a cologne he didn't recognize. His jaw tightened. The house felt off. Subtle dissonances gnawed at him. A wine glass smudged with lipstick in the sink, a pillow askew on the couch, the faint hum of the security system disabled. He moved through the rooms like a ghost, cataloging every aberration. In the bedroom, his wife's vanity drawer gaped open. Beneath a stack of lace lingerie, he found a receipt, $2,800 for a hotel suite downtown, dated the week he'd been in Singapore closing a merger. The paper trembled in his grip. Thomas dialed Sophia's number, straight to voicemail. Again and again, her cheerful tone. "Leave a message, darling," felt like a taunt. He called her friends, one by one. "Oh, Thomas," chirped Emily, Sophia's Pilates partner. "She mentioned a spa day, I think. Or was it her sister's?" Another friend, Lena, hesitated. "She said something about visiting her aunt. Honestly, I'm not sure." Their faltering lies were gasoline. Thomas' knuckles whitened around his phone. The doorbell rang. Mrs. Wilkins, their elderly neighbor, stood on the doorstep, wringing her hands. "Mr. Harper, I thought you should know. A black SUV's been parked outside. Late at night, when you're away." Ice flooded his veins. He thanked her calmly, then shut the door and shattered. In Sophia's study, he found it. A second phone, sleek and password-locked, hidden behind a false panel in her bookshelf. The screen glared back, mocking. Thomas called the only person he trusted, Marcus, a cybersecurity savant with a knack for discretion. "I need eyes everywhere," Thomas said, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. "Cameras, microphones, everything." Marcus arrived within the hour, arms laden with gear more suited to a spy thriller than a penthouse. They worked through the night, transforming the home into a panopticon. By dawn, Thomas could monitor every corner remotely. He crafted his lie flawlessly. An urgent conference in Dubai, complete with flight tickets and a 5-star hotel reservation. Sophia's reply was instant, a storm of heart emojis and promises to hold down the fort. When she returned, her performance was Oscar-worthy. A fleeting frown at his departure, a kiss that tasted like betrayal. Thomas drove to the airport, left his car in long-term parking, and took a cab to a nondescript motel. The room smelled of bleach and desperation. He opened his laptop, connected to the cameras, and watched. At 9:13 p.m., headlights sliced through the driveway. The black SUV. 3 figures emerged, his wife and 2 men. Lucas Cole, Thomas' rival from Coltech, and his enforcer, Victor. Sophia wore red lace beneath her trench coat, the same set from the receipt. Thomas forced himself to watch. The sounds, the laughter, the grotesque ballet of betrayal. When Sophia murmured, "Next Friday, when Thomas is in Chicago," Lucas grinned, "I'll bring champagne." Dawn found Thomas hollowed out, reborn. The trusting husband was dead. In his place stood something colder, sharper. He hired Elena Kovac, a private investigator with a reputation for unearthing skeletons. "I want every dirty secret Lucas Cole has," Thomas ordered. "Leave no stone unturned." Elena delivered. Offshore accounts, shell companies, brides buried a decade deep. Thomas anonymized the data, then leaked it to the SEC with surgical precision. At the office, he smiled as Lucas' empire began to crumble. "Bad luck, Lucas," Thomas said, clapping him on the back at a charity gala. "Better luck next time." Lucas' grip was too tight. "Always a pleasure, Harper. Give Sophia my regards." Thomas' mask nearly slipped. That night, Sophia frowned over bank statements. Thomas, these transfers. Is everything okay? He feigned concern. I'll look into it, love. Thank you. His kiss burned her cheek like acid. As weeks passed, Sophia's facade cracked. She whispered frantic calls in locked rooms. He knows. She hissed once. We need to move faster. Thomas intercepted her emails, her texts, her desperation. Let the rats scurry. When Elena unearthed photos, Lucas with women who weren't Sophia, weren't even discreet. Thomas leaked them anonymously. Tabloids exploded. Lucas' wife, Eleanor, a philanthropist with steel in her spine, confronted Thomas at a fundraiser. You seem to actually care about these causes, she said, champagne flute in hand. There are things more important than profit, Thomas replied, smiling. Eleanor's gaze lingered. The SEC's verdict hit like a missile. Lucas' stock plummeted. His board turned feral. At an investor meeting, Thomas watched Lucas sweat through his Armani suit. Rough week, Thomas murmured. Lucas' smile was a snarl. This isn't over. But it was. The city's skyline blurred outside Thomas Harper's office window, a mosaic of steel and glass reflecting his fractured world. On his desk, a dossier from Elena glowed ominously. Bank records, encrypted messages, photos of Lucas Cole's clandestine meetings. Thomas traced a finger over a timestamp. 3:47 a.m. Hotel Lux. Sophia's face, flushed and laughing, stared back from a grainy surveillance still. He closed the file. Mercy was a luxury he couldn't afford. Lucas' downfall unfolded like a scripted tragedy. The SEC froze his assets. Headlines branded him a fraud. Coltech's board voted him out unanimously, replacing him with a silver-haired shark from Wall Street. At a press conference, Lucas stood stiffly, his charisma eroded into desperation. These allegations are baseless, he insisted, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Thomas watched from his penthouse, sipping bourbon. Baseless. The word tasted bitter. He'd made sure every accusation was airtight, every dollar traced, every lie documented. Yet, satisfaction eluded him. Sophia unraveled quietly. She stopped wearing red. Her calls grew frantic, hushed. One evening, Thomas found her hunched over her laptop, deleting files. Planning another spa day? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. She startled, slamming the screen shut. Just organizing photos. Of Lucas. Her face paled. What? He tossed a USB drive onto the desk. It clattered like a gunshot. Watch it. You'll find you're organizing more. Enlightening. She didn't touch it. Marcus intercepted the hack attempt 3 days later. They're desperate, he said, fingers flying across his keyboard. Amateurs. Cole hired some script kiddies to dig into your finances. Thomas smirked. Let them dig. Bury them deeper. He'd anticipated this. Every account Sophia accessed, every transfer she attempted, fed false trails. By morning, her name was tied to offshore shell companies, her fingerprints on forged documents. The noose tightened. Lucas resorted to theatrics. At a tech summit, he cornered Thomas near the bar, breath reeking of gin. You think you've won. I'll drag you through hell. Thomas adjusted his cufflinks. You're already there, Lucas. I'm just holding the map. A camera flashed. Lucas' snarl made the front page. Sophia's final act was a masterpiece of delusion. She invited Thomas to dinner, their restaurant, their table. Candles flickered between them as she clasped his hand. We can fix this, she pleaded. Start over, somewhere far. He withdrew his hand. Like Singapore or Dubai. Her mask cracked. You're paranoid. You need help. Funny. He slid a divorce petition across the table. So do you. She tore it, shreds floating into her wine. I'll fight you. You'll lose. The courtroom was a stage. Sophia's lawyer, a slick charlatan with a shark's grin, argued alienation, Emotional neglect. Thomas' team countered with spreadsheets, timestamps, the hotel receipt. The judge's gavel fell like an axe. Dissolution granted. Assets to Mr. Harper. Sophia's scream echoed through the hall. You'll regret this. Thomas left without looking back. Lucas' retaliation was cruder. A tabloid published a grainy video. Thomas at a bar, scowling, with the headline, Tech Titan Unhinged. Comments speculated about breakdowns, pills, affairs. Elena traced the leak to a blogger on Lucas' payroll. Thomas bought the site by noon. Publish the truth, he told the editor. The next headline gutted Lucas. Cole's secret family. Hidden kids, hidden lies. Eleanor Cole requested a meeting. In a sunlit cafe, she clasped Thomas' hand, her wedding ring absent. Thank you, she said, for the truth. You deserved better. Her smile was sad. So did you. The final blow came at dawn. Police raided Lucas' mansion, dragging him out in handcuffs. Tax evasion. Fraud. Conspiracy. His mugshot, disheveled, hollow-eyed, trended globally. Sophia vanished. Rumors placed her in a studio apartment, trading jewelry for cash. Thomas didn't care. In his rebuilt empire, Thomas stood alone. The board praised his ruthlessness. Investors clamored for his genius. Yet, in the silence, he glimpsed the man he'd buried, the one who'd loved, trusted, believed. He booked a session with Dr. Levin, a psychiatrist renowned for treating high-functioning sociopaths. Why are you here? Dr. Levin asked. To understand, Thomas replied. Not to change. The city buzzed below, oblivious. Thomas Harper, architect of ruin, scrolled through Sophia's final email. A plea for money, ignored, and deleted it. Win, he thought. The word felt hollow. But hollow was safer than broken.